Good day to everyone. Today, we will be discussing about diffusion of innovation theory. Everett M. Rogers was an American communication theorist and sociologist who originated the diffusion of innovations theory and introduced the term early adopter. So, siya yung nagpakilala ng term na early adopter na ginamit niya sa kanyang theory. He distinguished Professor Emeritus in the Department of Communication and Journalism at the University of New Mexico. His scholarly writings and research influenced the field of development communication, diffusion of innovations, communication technology, research, and theory. Diffusions of innovations is a theory that seeks to explain why, how, and at what rate new ideas and technologies spread. Rogers argues that diffusion is the process by which an innovation is communicated over time among the participants in a social system. The origins of the diffusion of innovations theory are varied and span multiple disciplines. He proposes the four main elements influence the spread of new ideas: the innovation itself, the new idea or technology, the communication channels, time, and a social system. The categories of adopters are innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. Diffusion manifests itself in different ways and is highly subjective to the type of adopters and the innovation decision process. The criteria for the adopter categorization is innovativeness. This is defined as the degree to which an individual adopts a new idea. For Rogers, innovativeness helped in understanding the desired and main behavior in the innovation decision process. Thus, he categorizes the adopters based on innovativeness. First, innovators. These are people who want to be the first to try the innovation. They are venturesome and interested in new ideas. These people are very willing to take risks and are often first to develop new ideas. They want the recognition. That is why prestige is their driving force to adopt the innovation. For Rogers, innovators were willing to experience new ideas. Thus, they should be prepared to cope up with unprofitable and unsuccessful innovations and a certain level of uncertainty about the innovation. Since they are the first person to try the innovation, so mataas pa yung level ng uncertainty ng innovation. Early adopters. These are people who represent opinion leaders. They enjoy leadership roles and embrace change opportunities. They are already aware of the need to change and so are very comfortable adopting new ideas. Compared to innovators, early adopters are more limited with boundaries in the social system. Rogers argued that since early adopters are more likely to hold leadership roles in the social system, other members came to them to get advice or information about the innovation. In fact, leaders play a central role in the virtually every stage of the innovation process, from initiation to implementation, particularly in deploying the resources that carry innovation forward. Thus, as a role models, early adopters' attitude towards innovations are more important. Their subjective evaluations about the innovation reach other members of the social system through interpersonal networks. Early adopters' leadership in adopting the innovation decreases uncertainty about the innovation in the diffusion process. Third, early majority. These people are rarely leaders but they do adopt new ideas before average person. That said, they typically need to see evidence that the innovation works before they are willing to adopt. Tinitignan muna nila kung effective ba siya or successful ba siya bago nila gayahin. They wanted assurance that the innovation actually works. Strategies to appeal to this population include success stories and evidence of innovation's effectiveness. Rogers claimed that although the early majority have a good interaction with other members of the social system, they do not have the leadership role that early adopters have. However, their interpersonal networks are still important in the innovation diffusion process. They are deliberate in adopting innovation and they are neither the first nor the last to adopt it. Thus, their innovation decision usually takes time Fourth, late majority. These people are skeptical of change and will only adopt an innovation after it has been tried by the majority. Strategies to appeal to this population include information on how many others people have tried the innovation and have adopted it successfully. Not fitting is their driving force to adopt the innovation. Similar to the early majority, the late majority includes one-third of all members of the social system who wait until most of their peers adopt the innovation. Gagayahin lang nila yung innovation kapag nakikita nila na almost everybody adopt it. Although they are skeptical about the innovation and its outcomes, economic necessity and peer pressure may lead them to the adoption of the innovation. To reduce the uncertainty of the innovation, interpersonal networks of close peers should persuade the late majority to adopt it. Then, the late majority feel that it is safe to adopt. Lastly, laggards. These people are bound by tradition and very conservative. They are very skeptical of change and the hardest group to bring on board. Strategies to appeal to this population include statistics, fear appeals, and pressure from other people in the other adopter groups. Laggards have traditional view and they are more skeptical about innovations and change agents that are late majority. As the most localized group in the social system, their interpersonal networks mainly consist of other members of the social system from the same category. Moreover, they do not have a leadership role because of the limited resources and lack of awareness knowledge of innovation. They first want to make sure that an innovation works before they adopt. The stages by which a person adopts an innovation includes awareness of the need for an innovation, decision to adopt or reject the innovation, initial use of the innovation to test it, and continued use of innovation. There are 5 main factors that influence adoptions of an innovation, and each of these factors is at play to different extent in the 5 adopter categories. First is relative advantage. The perceived relative advantage of an innovation is the degree to which it is perceived as improving in a previous innovation. This can manifest itself as higher profitability or increase in social status. Incentives like money or free samples can be used to increase the perceived relative advantage of an innovation. However, adoptions motivated by incentives may be less sustainable, with adopters possibly rejecting the innovation when the incentive ceases to be available. Kadalasan, i-adopt lang natin yung innovation kapag nakikita natin na may advantage tayong makukuha sa paggawa nito. Ina-adopt lang nila yung innovation kapag nakikita nila na benefit exceeded cost. For example, mas malaki yung benefit na nakukuha kaysa sa nagagastos sa pag-implement. Second, compatibility. The perceived compatibility of an innovation describes how consistent it is with regard to an individual's values, experiences, and needs. The degree of compatibility determines the change in behavior required to adopt an innovation. Thus, instead of introducing an incompatible innovation into a social system, adoption can be easier when innovation is broken down into several more compatible innovations that can be adopted in sequence, each requiring only a minor behavior change. Simplicity and ease of use. New ideas that are simpler to understand are adopted more rapidly than inventions that require adopter to develop new skills and understanding. The perceived complexity of an innovation describes how difficult it seems to comprehend and use the innovation. A high degree of complexity can be a strong barrier against adoption. Kapag nakikita ng mga tao na madali lang siyang gawin, they are more willing to adopt the innovation rather than the complex one. Trialability. The perceived trialability of an innovation is the degree to which it can be tried on a probationary basis. A personal trial of an innovation is an effective way to reduce uncertainty about an innovation. Before they adopt the innovation itself, ito-try muna nila or susubukan muna nila kung effective ba ito sa company. Then, kung nakikita nila na effective, then dun pa lang nila i-implement sa company. Observability. The perceived observability of an innovation is the degree to which others can observe the results of an innovation. Observing a peer can be a proxy for a trial of an innovation. Instead of doing a trial or a test run, a company may observe their competitors kung naging successful ba yung innovation na in-apply nila. Then kung nakita nila na successful ito, that's the time when they will adopt the innovation. It is important to be conscious about the adoption of change and to ensure that all stages are followed in sequence. This way, when it comes to the final confirmation stage, the innovation is not questioned by stakeholders who are not properly consulted in its value and implications. Failing to do so can trigger undercurrent behavior that limits the ability of an organization to go forward in adopting the innovation, troubling the 5 stages of innovation adoption. First is the knowledge stage. The knowledge stage is where an individual becomes aware of the innovation's existence and become interested in understanding its functions. This knowledge can come from colleagues and peers or conferences and advertisements. Missing the knowledge stage can cause difficulties within the change management process. A key stakeholders may feel that they have not been appropriately informed or consulted. This can lead to emotional dissonance in the persuasion stage and affect implementation stage down the road. In this step, an individual learns about the existence of innovation and seeks information about the innovation. What? Ano ba tong innovation na to? How? Paano ba ito ginagamit? And why? Para saan ba to at bakit natin to gagamitin? Are the critical questions in the knowledge phase. During this phase, the individual attempts to determine what the innovation is and how and why it works. The questions form 3 types of knowledge. The 3 types of knowledge includes awareness knowledge, how-to knowledge, and the principles knowledge. The awareness knowledge refers to the knowledge of the innovation's existence. This type of knowledge can motivate the individual to learn more about the innovation and eventually to adopt it. Also, it may encourage an individual to learn about other types of knowledge. Second, the how-to knowledge. This knowledge contains information about how to use an innovation correctly. Sa stage na to, inaalam natin kung paano nga ba gamitin or kung paano patakbuhin ang isang innovation. To increase the adoption chance in an innovation, an individual should have a sufficient level of how-to knowledge prior to the trial of this innovation. Thus, this knowledge becomes more critical for relatively complex innovations. And third, principles knowledge. The last knowledge type is the principles knowledge. This knowledge includes the functioning principles describing how and why an innovation works. Second is the persuasion stage. In this stage, an individual is ascertaining the potential value of adopting a new innovation and further exploring its capabilities. In this stage, it is critical that the innovation is perceived to be useful by a potential user or beneficiary. This can be done by educating them on how the given innovation can save them time, reduce cost, or improve performance. Testimonials are a great way to support such statements and alter their perceptions in a positive manner. In this stage, an individual forms a favorable or unfavorable attitude towards an innovation. Third, the decision stage. The decision stage determines whether an innovation will be adopted or rejected. Adoption refers to the full use of an innovation as the best course of action available, and rejection means not to adopt the innovation. So at this stage, iisipin na ng company kung i-adopt ba nila or i-reject. Fourth is the implementation stage. This stage is the process of putting the innovation into practice. In this stage, we consider the ways to reduce the cost of change, both financially and in terms of energy and mental effort. Facilitating training workshops can significantly help the implementation and reduce switching costs. Ease of use is paramount in the implementation phase. Another way to motivate and encourage people through this stage is sharing testimonials on how the innovation has been incorporated into their activities effectively and without undue challenge. And lastly, the confirmation stage. The final stage in the process of change innovation is the confirmation stage. Depending on the support for adoption of the innovation and the attitude of the individual, later adoption or discontinuance happens during this stage. Discontinuance may occur during this stage in two ways. First, the individual rejects the innovation to adopt a better innovation replacing it. This type of discontinuance decision is called replacement discontinuance. The other type of discontinuance is the decision of this enhancement discontinuance. In the latter, the individual rejects innovation because he or she is not satisfied with its performance. Another reason for this type of discontinuance decision may be that the innovation does not meet the needs of the individual. So, it does not provide a perceived relative advantage, which is the first attribute of innovations and affects the rate of adoption.